multiple award-winning actor, writer and director, having received the Filmfare Award for the screenplay of Bazigar and the Nandi Award of Andhra Pradesh for playing the lead in the Telugu film Dr. Ambedkar, The River of Love, a feature film directed by him, has garnered a host of international awards. His production of Vijay Tendulkar's A Friend's Story was performed at the Shakespeare's Globe Theatre in London. Can we please applaud for our next speaker? We have Dr. Akash Khurana.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Grateful to Mr. Balveer Chawla and his team and Mr. Ramakrishnan of Rupa Publications, my publisher, for making this possible. Mr. Khatri mentioned C.P. Gurnani. He was my junior at NIT Rourkela. You know what Tech Mahindra is and what a wonderful mentor in a tech environment Mr. Gurnani has been. He's legendary. So I think really what I'm going to say would absolutely be in sync with the philosophy of Mr. Gurnani at Tech Mahindra. I think most of you present here are either Gen X or millennials, and because they have families, there might be some Gen Zs, but I think very few boomers, if at all. So I'm a boomer, but rather than feel like a fossil, I feel actually fortunate to actually have had hands-on experience with computing and information technology for over 6 decades. So when I was in school, my father introduced me to a slide rule. Google, if you don't know. It's a mechanical analog computer that was used mostly for multiplication and division, and also for some functions like roots, trigonometry, and some other, but hardly ever for addition and subtraction. And in the school and class, we used what are known as logarithm tables or log tables. And then it was many years after school that I probably used the Casio calculator. And then after my MBA, when I joined Tata Motors, then Telco, Tata Engineering, Punekars would know, it's an institution that goes back many years at Pimpri Chinchwad. I used to do a lot of work in commuting then. We used to outsource our data processing to TCS. And in those days, there were these key punched cards used for binary inputs to large motherboard IBM computers. And since I was in spare parts those days, the output came out in reams and reams of computer stationery. And then probably after that there was PowerPoint and spreadsheet. But before that, I think in 1988, when I became a screenwriter, I used to work on the word processor, which was MS-DOS. And used floppy disks. I don't know, this is absolutely obsolete and anachronistic right now, but that's what it used to be. And then when I started making films, I moved to Macintosh for their FCP, Final Cut Pro software. And today all of us are smarter. We have smartphones. The world and the information and our office is in our pockets. And that's a far cry between logarithms and algorithms. So that's been a journey. And then recently I did a session with a company called Stanton Chase, where I spoke about how global CHROs leverage AI for succession planning, and how mentoring can be a critical catalyst in an era where technology is relentlessly reshaping our lives. Now I've done this bit of a recap of history for the simple reason that it would make you realize the true value of our legacy. Rome, they say, was not built in a day, and nor was digital technology. So we owe our achievements today, and I think most of you today, bar none perhaps, are living in an environment which is technologically oriented. It is also said that those who forget history are condemned to repeat it. And in this context, I am an author of a book called Mentor Morphosis, a story for mentoring the leader in you. I will read a very relevant excerpt from that book for you to give you an idea about this whole environment where there's a conflict between AI and now probably this fear psychosis or the redundancy of the human skill set, but we'll get to that. This chapter, how many of you have seen a film called AI by Steven Spielberg? Good, that makes heartening. It's a fictional account by Spielberg of really what I'm going to speak about. And I think if you rewatch it, you'll get an idea of what is the interface or the overlap or the difference between the two worlds, artificial intelligence and emotional intelligence. And I begin this chapter with a quote from the film, which a character, Henry Stinton, says, "Think about this. If he was created to love, then it's reasonable to assume he knows how to hate. And if pushed to those extremes, what is he really capable of?" So it was 2 centuries ago that Mary Shelley wrote her Gothic novel, Frankenstein, the Modern Prometheus, about a scientist named Victor Frankenstein and the monster he created, who eventually became known in folklore by the name of his creator, Frankenstein. On seeing the ugliness of his creation, Frankenstein was filled with disgust by something that was in fact meant to be a beautiful manifestation of a dream to help rid the human race of disease. After being abandoned and denied human love and compassion, the creature went on a horrific, murderous rampage. In the novel, Shelley warns of the dangers of man acquiring the knowledge to become a creator and play God in the laboratory. If humans see machines or artificial intelligence, AI, as threats rather than a part of their own creation, they themselves will bring about the very state of alienation that they fear. Of course, there have been AI goof-ups, like bots becoming racist Nazis and software tools stealing money and creating fake images. The consequences can get more serious when biased algorithms are in charge of deciding who should be approved for a bank loan, whom to hire or admit to a university, or whether to kill a suspect in a police chase. But we need to go back to the Frankenstein story to further understand such implications for a mentor-protege relationship. The monster eventually takes refuge in a cottage where, hidden from the eyes of the dwellers, he learns about the elements of social life. Tempted to get rid of his unbearable solitude, he makes the grave error of assuming that the virtues of his heart will win over the family in the cottage. The tragic result is predictable. Horrified by his repugnant appearance, they flee, and in irrevocable wrath, the monster turns against the heartless world and becomes vicious. The onerous question that we are left with at the end of the novel is whether things would have turned out differently for the protege had the humans around him, including his own mentor, shown him more empathy and compassion, which are attributes of emotional intelligence. So the question here is not whether AI is essential, but whether we are losing our grip on AI in this pursuit of technological excellence. AI is essentially the ability to learn, which uses algorithms to process new data and to change how it computes new information technology according to that new data. This has many comparing it to human intelligence, but the jury is still out there to determine the extent to which AI can replace humans and in what roles. Let me give you a personal example about ChatGPT and its intervention in screenplay writing. I was recently struggling with the climax of a script, and I fed in inputs leading up to that point in the story, but all I got was various permutations and combinations of sensible but cliched options picked up from the web and assimilated in a very sophisticated way, but not exciting enough for me to accept it. I don't want to sound immodest here, but it was not certainly better than the climax I had worked out in the first place. So limitations do exist. Hence AI Hence AI and EI are complementary. AI cannot infer meaning from learning. That needs human intervention. AI enhances efficiency, provides us insights, but struggles to navigate the nuances of human relationships. AI cannot reason for you. Anyway, out of sync. AI cannot reason for you. EI is essential for understanding the feelings and motivations of employees, customers, and stakeholders. AI cannot replace the attributes of authentic leadership like purpose, passion, values, and behavior. AI cannot engage in moral reasoning. AI cannot replace the attributes of authentic leadership, which is akin actually to mentorship, like purpose, passion, values, and behavior. AI cannot engage in moral reasoning. There's a chapter in my book called Relevant Morality. That kind of judgment and decision making on ethics, Khatri Sahab was all about ethics, can only come from a human being. And most importantly, AI does not have intuition, something that all great leaders have. So what are the attributes of AI, of EI? This is the gospel according to me. Daniel Goleman's model outlines 5 main EI constructs. Actually, I did a paper relating it to the teachings of Krishna and the Mahabharata based on these attributes. If you are aware of the Gita, then you'll understand what these elements are getting to. One is self-awareness, your emotions, strengths, limitations, and how these affect others. Self-regulation, managing your emotions and adapting to changing circumstances. Social skills, managing relationships to benefit people in different circumstances. Empathy, being considerate to other people's feelings by imagining yourself in their position. And motivation, being driven to achieve goals happily. So whether it's a department, a subgroup, a group, an organization, a group of companies, this could perhaps be the EI vision. Implementing and sustaining a culture of emotional intelligence customized to meet the diverse needs of individuals across the organization. Breaking it down to coming to the mission, the EI mission, there's a concept in Japanese management called Kaizen, I think. Creating a continuous learning environment where emotional intelligence principles are integrated into everyday work practices and moving from knowing to doing, and from concepts to lived experiences. Now, what would the EI strategy then be for mentors? Identify EI-driven soft skills. And really it comes down to these two basic, you just dumb it down if you like. Communication and listening skills. बाकी सब ज्ञान just भूल जाओ. सुनो ईमानदारी से and express what you are thinking of and interpreting. Use learning and develop. How many HR leaders, professionals here in this audience? Not many, but for the few that there are here, just this entire session might suddenly start becoming very significant for you. Use learning and development sessions to build these skills. Simulate sessions that allow demonstration of EI skills. Empathy is at the core of EI. Simulate situations to build empathy among employers, employees, to foster mutual respect and trust and collaboration, and a feeling of oneness with the organization. It's not a digression, but I'd like to put on record here that really what I'm seeing and saying here is very relevant to what Finnovators is all about. The very concept of buddies means that the peer group is actually mentoring each other, and for me that's clearly in all training mentoring programs is the missing link. There is no peer mentoring. Learn from each other, and Finnovators, thank you, this was a good experience for me. You guys are in a good place. So mentoring objectives. Establish clear goals and expectations for both mentors and mentees. Facilitate transfer of knowledge beyond the technical aspects of the job to nurture empathy, again active listening and resilience. Build mutual trust and have open, candid conversations about failures and vulnerabilities. Actually, this is not only mentoring objectives, it should be an organizational objective across the board. Transparency. Tech organizations known for their focus on innovation operate in an environment where the risk of failure is a constant companion. Implement feedback loops designed with empathy and constructive criticism to reinforce the principles of emotional intelligence on a day-to-day basis. Use experiential, we keep hearing about this storytelling, become not a cliche, but it's extremely being used and it's useful. But experiential empathy actually done through storytelling is a great device, a process through which mentors connect with their mentees by sharing their own relevant experiences. Today, soft skills are the new hard skills. We talk about STEM, science, technology, engineering, mathematics. The gear should shift to SEL, social and emotional learning. And of course, in my doctoral research on customer-vendor relationships and HR work systems, I found that the strategies based on Toyota's lean manufacturing system, which relied heavily on a high degree of collaboration and trust, resulted in high productivity. Managing relationships also depends on our ability to mutually adapt to or influence the emotions of another person. And this empathy in turn depends on the ability to manage our own emotions. Happy? In conclusion, here are some next steps, action points. If you believe in mentoring, get the buy-in of your CEO and CHRO. Mr. Khatri laughed, as most corporate leaders would. Collaborate with them to create relevant mentorship programs. Mentor the mentors. Appoint someone responsible and accountable for these programs. When I was in telco, there used to be a GM personnel. Then another decade it became vice presidents. And then the CXOs started. And then everything but everything had a C. Marketing officer, technology officer, investment officer. Under HR, CHRO, CLO, learning officer. become the first organization, if you believe in mentoring, to have a chief mentoring officer. Right then, forward over, let's lead technology with the heart. Thank you.